Yeah, this is. I had to do some errands this morning because I was lazy or busy to do it all weekend. So this morning I'm like on. I just got out of work, my first night at work, and I'm like on my way back, and I had to stop at the market. I literally left with like two bags, bro. And the lady's like, "That's $130, please." I'm like,
Jeez.
"Wait a second, wait, what?
Are we talking about grocery shopping?
Like what? Yeah, bro.
Oh, I
Like
know.
$130 on a Monday? Jeez,
Yo,
let me get
today
my mind going, bro.
I got a week. I just remember this randomly. I got a week where I'm doing cold showers in the morning, like cold showers. And I found
Well,
out my
yo,
wife.
every time I think of cold showers, I'm thinking as a teenager how much I needed cold showers.
Yo,
Nah, that's irrelevant.
yeah. I was gonna say, give me the other end to that so I could understand. Yo, I
Yeah,
got a week every morning. Waking up and I'm taking a cold shower.
right.
Oh, that really has changed my morning routine. It really does send to your body. Like when the first thing you do is a cold shower, like I'm out there, like you know how you feel. You go into that cold water, you like,
Facts.
yo, bro.
Gets the heart rate going. You
Yeah,
know.
I realized something about it too. When you get right, I'm gonna share a week worth of gym right here. Right, this is all I got so far. I'm like, yo, if you stay under, I don't know what your version of a cold shower is, but I found out my wife's version of a cold shower is she just gets in, and she comes out and then she puts it regular. I'm like, yeah, it don't work like that. You feel me? Like,
You
oh,
gotta build up that tolerance to be there a little longer. Yeah.
now I do the whole shower cold. That's a cold
The
shower.
whole shower. So you
Whole shower.
wash yourself and everything in the
That's
cold
it like
water.
that. And then when you're doing 30 seconds in there, you start feeling better. Your body starts relaxing. And now stay there. You just can't get out. That's the trick. You get out
No.
and back in. That's like getting into that cold water again after you got out. But if you stay in,
That's some reptile work right there. I'm good. I'll do the dip. I'll do the plunge.
yo, listen
I'm
to
not
Iceman,
taking a
bro.
shower. I'm not standing in the shower comfortably under cold water, bro.
Yo,
I'll
listen
do
to
a
Ice.
plunge, but I'm not doing all of that stuff. Wait. What are we doing here?
Oh, we
Let's
are
get the
live.
crew involved here. Let's get the crew involved here. Hello and welcome to another live event. I'm Macho, that's Savory, and you're watching Drinks with a Nobody on Nobody TV. That's right. You're watching Drinks with a Nobody, and thanks for tuning in live. Be sure to follow us on Twitch at Macho Fix 88 at Savory underscore Edition. Be sure to follow us on Twitter. You can catch us at the same handles there. And in case you miss any of our content, be sure to go on to YouTube, type Drinks with a Nobody. We just fixed that channel right now, and it's live and it's active and it's working. Type Drinks with a Nobody.
Wow.
Hit subscribe. Click that notification bell so you'll never miss a thing. Why us? Why should they listen to us? Why should they even bother listening to
That
us?
is the question. It's my favorite question. Question of the week again. You know what it is? You ever felt alone, like you can't speak to people, man? You ever felt down and out, man? You ever felt like certain things are off limits? Drinks to the nobody, nothing is off limits, man. We could
Ooh,
talk about it all, man. It's just simple, man. But the
jeez.
reality is we all felt like that before, man. You got
Facts.
that thought up there that you can't really say, you know? You ever
Yeah.
got the idea that you're like, yo, that might be a little too strange or out there. Drinks to
Yeah.
the nobody, macho, savory. We out here speaking about all these things day and night. Nothing is off limits, man. Sooner
No,
or later, we're
there's
gonna start
nothing.
getting topics from people like, yo, what y'all want us to talk about? Because really, nothing is off limits, man.
Nothing's off limits. And here we can figure out a way to find a common ground at
Facts.
Drinks with a Nobody. And what better way to do it than to do this over a drink? It doesn't have to be an alcoholic drink, knuckleheads. It could be whatever drink. So go on ahead, go to your kitchen, grab a beverage, and sit back, relax, and get ready to engage because that's what we want here. That's what we both want here. This is Macho and Savory Show, but we also want our audience to be involved.
Yes,
We
sir.
have a tough topic today. I mean, I don't even know where to begin
Yeah, where
other
do we
than
start
to
with this?
just title it the Texas abortion ban since, that was the most pressing of it all. But before we even dive into something deep, we want y'all to get to know us a bit. And I got a question for you, Mr. Savory.
Talk to me.
What was your dream job as a kid? Or better yet, what did you want to be when you grew up?
I actually wanted to be a detective.
Serious?
Yeah, yeah.
Wow. Really? Like, what was your like? I'm shocked. I'm dead serious. Like, I'm
Yeah, yeah.
shocked.
So I wanted to be a detective because I still love these kind of shows, but I was always amazed by those kind of shows where these people are like, I feel like these people were heroes. They are solving cases by themselves, putting stuff together. I was always a real thoughtful kid. I've always like kind of like asked questions about like, oh, but we can do this, that. So every time I saw these shows, I felt like I can actually do this, right? Uh,
Mm.
so yeah, I always thought about being, but I imagine myself that kind of detective that I'm solving the cases that nobody else could solve, kind of thing. You know what I'm saying? So I can memorize it a lot.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's
So you wanted to be investigative. You wanted to solve things. You wanted to put pieces together. Am I right?
yeah. I want to be that dude. Like somebody walks in and they're like, "Yo, we need Savory for this."
Yeah, you got that like
At
vision of
me.
like you remember seeing Cobra? What was it was Cobra with Rocky. Not Rocky, it was Sylvester Stallone. And they were like, yo, the Cobra's here. And he had like this infamous walk in to solve a problem. It was like a
Yeah, just
shootout
come in
actually.
and then everybody's silence. Like, yo, let the man work, and I'm over here like, you ever seen Dexter?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, so you see when Dexter walks in and he's just telling you like the scene where the blood splatter, this and that. I
Yeah.
imagine
Yeah.
myself a cool version of Dexter. That shit was out there.
All right, I feel you.
How
I
about
feel
you,
you.
man?
I wanted to be a baseball player,
Fire.
professional
And
athlete.
fire.
Oh,
All
word.
right. Are we
Yeah.
ready?
Are we ready? Yeah, I wanted to be a baseball player. I was I think I fell in love with the sport when I watched the Yankees play the 98 World Series when they played against the San Diego Padres. And one of my two favorite players of that series was Tony Gwynn. A legend. No better hitter in history. Well, yeah, there were, but I'm just saying of my time that I got to witness. Tony Gwynn was amazing. And I got to see Tino Martinez. Those were the people that stood out in my head at that time. Tino Martinez and Tony Gwynn. And I wanted to play the game because I love them. I love seeing them. I love to see the kind of attention that they got. And I just love being like I guess I love the like the what baseball brought to me as a kid. And I wanted to be the guy to bring that to kids. So um yeah, that's the dream that I
Oh,
wanted to be
boom.
as a child. Yeah. So we have a really tough topic, and I really don't know where to begin, honestly. But I will say this: the Texas abortion ban. In seeing that it come up and seeing all the things that were happening in Texas prior
Mhm.
to this passing of a bill. Now, we're talking about the Texas abortion ban, but we're talking about abortion in general. Um, so not to be confused about just talking about this state in the U.S. and the country, but just in general, generally speaking, I don't know. We're going to talk about it from a country's perspective, but we're going to also talk about abortion as a whole. What is this really about? We saw what was leading up to the passing of the bill. The Democrats, the Texas House representatives leaving the state of Texas,
Mhm.
literally avoiding public discourse or quorum, having a quorum, and to avoid even having a vote for the governor, and that they had to actually put a warrant out for their arrest because they were out in DC parading themselves. And the first thing that come to mind was, why was this a specific topic? Was this because of the previous administration, or was this like brewing up really deep? Because I thought we had an understanding on this stuff, right, in terms of abortions. Or was that just a New York boy's perspective? Because I thought abortions was settled. I thought some states had their own ideologies, or some states had their own choices or their
Yeah,
decisions, and everybody just understood that.
yeah,
Why are we here? Is
yeah.
what
I
I'm.
think that's a beautiful, beautiful start to this, man. Asking that question, how did this brew up again, man? Because you actually made me think of something right now. What
Yeah.
happened was the Supreme Court, the changes in the Supreme Court while Trump was president was pretty drastic, and it would be considered a big, big accomplishment on the conservative side, just like it would if it were the liberal side, right? Because
Mm,
it's, you're kind of balancing things out. I like to think that I want to balance Supreme Court justice, where you have some liberal ideas there, some conservatives, right?
yeah.
It's brewing up again because there is talk and danger around Roe versus Wade turning around, right? That being
Got it.
overturned at the Supreme Court level. So now it's brewing down to the states, and they're like, all right, let's do what it takes to keep this. Texas is one that's being proactive and saying, hey, um, let us say where we stand off the rip, right? And other states are kind of gonna do the same thing. So they're playing politics a bit.
Yeah, and that's what I wanted to explore a bit here. There's areas I a lot of areas I want to explore here, Lou. But one primarily is this a simple as a right and left issue? Is this a Republican versus Democrat issue? Is this a conservative versus liberal issue? Anyone watching, give your thoughts. What do you think? And that's where we kind of want to go. Is this an issue about morality? Do you think this is an issue about morality? Is this really about our faith or the lack thereof? Is this really about when life begins? But here's some of the things that I really want to kind of set the stage here, if we will, if we can. And that is, let's look at some of the initial things that we see coming out of Texas and what their thoughts are. So I'm going to share a screen here.
Okay.
Let me go ahead and do that. And here, what you guys are seeing here is not the right screen that I want to share. But let's go ahead and let's redo that. Right here. And this is the initial screen that I want to share here. And this is basically the initial thought process behind the Texas abortion ban. And basically, what they're doing here is they're limiting the time frame in which you can get an abortion. So instead of 15 weeks, you have 6 weeks, and we're going to talk about that.
Yeah.
But here's their initial thought process. This
Well,
takes effect in September. Yeah, go ahead.
this is really quick. That bill, if,
Hmm.
and I guess you'll get into it right now, is called a heartbeat bill, right? So the logic is that at
Yes.
6th week, the heartbeat starts. So to give people some kind of context of why that number was moved. So their justification is they're saving more lives because at 6th week, you hear and see the heartbeat through the technology offered to us. So we know that there's life in there, right? So that's
Mm,
a heartbeat bill, by the way, right? So just for our viewers, you can kind of get an idea of that. Yeah.
that was a great follow, by the way, in case I missed some details there. Thank you very much. So, as we look at the initial, here's some of a thought process, and it's in quote: Our Creator endowed us with the right to life, and yet millions of children lose their right to life every year because of abortion. Abbott said in a bill signing ceremony captured on videos posted on social media. The legislator worked together on a bipartisan basis to pass a bill that I am about to sign that ensures that the life of every unborn child who has a heartbeat will be saved from the ravages of abortion. and this is just a an initial
Mhm.
thought process here that is probably going through the minds of why they're passing this bill. So you just came in and you literally cleaned that up and saying this is called the heartbeat bill. And this is what I wanted to read that quote there because I want everyone to see the thought process behind this. They are sick and tired. So are they overreacting? Lou, initially thinking, do you think the conservatives here are overreacting? Do you think government officials in general are overreacting? Do you think society may be overreacting?
Um, man, abortion is a tough topic, right? I'll say that again, man. But this is how I feel about it right now. I understand where they're coming from because remember, we live in a republic. I tell people the people who elected this governor, a majority of those people who voted for him are pro-life, right? So this is why we have elected officials. Our government system is not really a democracy. I tell people, but when they make decisions like that, it's based on the people who got elected, right?
Right.
So those people who get elected, right? They are now representing, at least their job is to represent the majority of the people who voted for them, right? So when I see
Right.
a bill pass like this, I think to myself, do most people in Texas want this? Because if they do, then that's none of the federal government's business,
Right.
right? That's why we have 50 states, you know? So, but the federal government is such an overreach power trip, right? For the past decade, I feel that you have Obama and Trump signing tons of executive orders, which I understand why, but now I think that's getting out of hand because you can
Yes.
undo what the last president did in one stroke. Now you think you can pass a federal law and override what the local people voted for in their state. It just doesn't, that's not, we don't have a federal government that speaks at the end of it. So,
So you're basically saying that if this is just isolated to the state, that's their business.
yes, especially if the people voting, um, the constituents voting for that elected official seems like overwhelmingly are what you would call pro-life. I hate these political terms, you just politicize it right away, but they're more pro-life. So
Right.
he
So
passed
why on earth are
unfortunately.
other why is every politician that is well known has something to say about that? Is that because they feel threatened or
Yeah, that's a good question, man. You know, because a lot of like again, going back to your initial question, abortion has been politicized, but we don't want to talk about the reality of the issue, which is what? These are the big questions. When does life start? Should you ever get an
yeah,
abortion, right? Like, for
yeah.
example, for the people who are pro abortion, you know what my question is to you? You're pro abortion up to when, right? Or let's use pro choice. You're pro choice up to when, right? Are you okay with having an abortion at 6 months? Right? That means you're not fully pro choice, then, right? So you're pro choice up to where? Most people are not pro choice up to 9 months, even though there was a
Right.
bill passed in New York that you can have an abortion up to when you please, and it doesn't even have to be performed by a doctor. But I digress. The point is, it's a moral issue, and the deeper questions why people don't like to talk about what we're talking about today is because the deeper issues are what? When does life start? If you're
Right.
pro-choice, up to when? If you're pro-life, what does that actually mean? Is it do you feel you can never get an abortion now for no reason? All right, these are the hard questions,
Yeah,
right?
and here's what I want to do as like housekeeping. Like we need to kind of look at this in a statistical format. Wow, I'm having issues. We need to look at the stats. We need to look at the numbers
Yep.
since abortion's actually been like really since it's been tracked. What's is this a growing issue? Are we all overreacting? And so I wanted to know. I pulled up a stat of the abortion rates from 1973 to 2018, and I thought the numbers were like very very alarming, and I think it's something it worth considering. So let's go ahead and let's look at that. I'm going to pull that up. And basically, what it says here, and this is for anyone curious as to where I got this from, All American Life League. It is a .org, so I'm assuming that it's These are people actually gathering the statistics, and we don't know their bias. I don't know their bias,
Hmm.
but this is still alarming to look at. Total number of abortions in the U.S. 1973 to 2018, 61.8 million plus. And the reason why they add that plus is because it's an approximate number, but it's on the up rather than on the down. So they don't even account for 2019 and 2020. And the reason being is because these numbers are always fluctuating. They're always going up, 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 or staying where they are based on who's giving them the source information, who's telling them what, because this is a really touchy topic and not everybody's willing to be like, yeah, I did it. You can put me down. So they also make the distinctions, of how many, I guess, abortions per 1,000 live births. They make the comparison there, 186. U.S. abortions in 2017, which they just put as a singular year, nearly a million in that singular year. And abortions per day, 2,362 plus. Abortions per hour, 98 plus. One abortion every 37 seconds. That's just so we can get an idea of what we're looking at here. So is that an overreaction? Are we thinking about this or talking about this or politicizing this too much in just that initial thought process? What do you say, Mr.
Yeah, as
Saber?
I'm looking at what you put up and looking and thinking about those numbers, I'm scared to look at what the numbers are more recent. Remember, abortions started getting out of control, um, and they're just getting worse. Is my point, right? It's just getting worse over the years. So I wonder if we concise that number from the 90s to now, right? Because I feel like abortion was less common in the 60s, 70s. Statistically speaking, it was from the 60s, 70s, and 80s, right? For whatever it might be, maybe a higher stigma around it. It was, frowned upon, right? So it might be some negative reasons as well, right? But the point is, those numbers were smaller. So I
Right.
wonder, and then we're counting from 73 to now. I just wonder how much bigger that number might be right now because abortion right now are actually celebrated. I would go as far as to say.
Wow, really?
Yeah, because
Even if like a person, I understand a person's pro-choice, but you would say as far as people are celebrating the fact that
yeah,
people.
I've seen a lot on Twitter celebration that aligns with um almost like when we spoke about equality with men, right? There's something about abortion that's like, look, you ain't telling me what to do, right? I just aborted my own baby because it's my choice, it's my body. So it's a sense, it's turned to which is why it's formed with this feminist movement as well, right? Not to go back to
Mm,
talk about, but it's formed into that, which is a form of empowerment. To keep it short is a form of empowerment. So I hear a lot of women not saying, man, I would love to have this baby, but I was raped, right? Or I would love to have a baby and give it life, but this certain no, that's not the common one, is out of convenience. Let's remember, most abortions happen out of convenience, which means you just don't want a kid right now, right? It's not
okay, so you're saying
like
that you're
have a
equating
baby.
that to a convenience. Okay, I see what you're
Yeah.
saying.
So, for example, I think the numbers are less than 1% or close to 1% out of all the abortions that happen are because of rape or some drastic measure like that. 99% of all abortions are just like, hey, I fucked up. We had sex. Damn, I don't want no kid right now at my age. All right, let's get an abortion. So it's like, that's where it gets tricky, right?
And
It's not.
why is that? Why is that? And another thing, aside from age, putting age aside, why is that initial thought process coming into our heads? I fucked up. Coming into our heads. Is it because of how frequent or how easily we have sex with random people?
Oh yeah, that's part of it. We've been
Yeah,
sexualized.
yeah.
Second part of it is um a lot of women are saying they don't want kids. Why? Because they don't
Because
want to be
it
slowed
interferes
down
with their careers.
for
Yeah,
their
it
career. They don't
interferes.
want to
Yeah.
slow themselves down. More than ever, I heard some guy talk about on TikTok that check this story out. This is relevant here. On campus, this guy's on Tinder, right? Check this story out. This guy's on Tinder. He looks around on Tinder, and all these girls, or most of the girls in his university or in surrounding places, um, just want an open relationship, right? But if he looks at the surrounding towns, he realized that there's a lot of single mothers in the rural areas. So he's
Wow.
like, man, I either get women who don't really want nothing serious because one, they don't want a family, one, they don't, two, they don't want kids and they want to focus on their career. Or I get women in another radius outside, a few miles out, right? Because you can do this in these dating websites, right? You can alter to who you want to see. I go a little deeper, and these are single mothers who are like, oh, all right, now they kind of want to backtrack and maybe want something serious, but so it's a weird game
Wow.
in our society, right? And I thought that's a relevant example because it shows what women are choosing in our culture, right? They're choosing what we spoke about before. Um, Careers, their own freedom above family, and equality with men above kind of like playing a certain role of a mother and wife, if you would call that a negative thing nowadays, right? So again, remember when I spoke about is the give and take? We don't like to admit it. It's a give and take. What that means is, look, it's okay, right? If you don't want to do A, B, and C, but that sacrifice now, what's our sacrifice? No families, um, promiscuity, more sex we're having, and we sacrifice a lot of things for that freedom. So
So are we more aimless now because of the fact that we can freely have abortions and in safer clinics and in safer environments? Are we more free or are we prone? So that's two angles of the question. So it's
yeah,
not
are we
so
more
purely
free?
negative. Are we prone to more sex, or are we free for more sex? And because we have that resource available to us.
Yeah, I think being more promiscuous in our culture and having more sex is not really connected to the abortion clinics being available. I think it's just more connected to our sexualized culture, which leads to more sex. But then on top of that, the layer on top of that is um we just live in a generation that's not emphasizing family. Or
Or
you don't
we don't understand what the real purpose of sex is. The real purpose of sex, like I said, is not pleasure. It is it is so that we can make children.
and you did
But
mention that, yeah.
pleasure is important because if pleasure wasn't involved, who wants to have sex to make kids?
Exactly.
So I look at it from that. It took me a long time personally to understand that. I thought the two can be separate and run parallel. I didn't think
Well,
the two could be synonymous. I didn't think they were intersecting. I
which
didn't
two?
think the pleasure and
And procreate.
procreation factors. I just thought, oh, this is for our pleasure. And if I want to have a child, that's down the road. We'll just do what we can because we have condoms, we do things such as pulling out, right? We do all those things thinking that, oh, I can do this without having the consequences or the benefits, right? Two sides of the coin. The consequences or benefits of having a child, but I can still have pleasure out of this and feel great, right?
So, do you think we are seeing higher rates of abortion because um we don't really want because like my question is, let me simplify this question. I was going to make it a little more complicated than it needs to be. Do you feel abortion rates are rising because women don't want to be in family, or not only women, let's blame men and women, because family is not emphasized? I would think that would automatically raise abortion rates because if you're not emphasizing family, or if a culture doesn't want a family, what do you want? You want your freedom. You want to live your life, but
Society in
you still want to have sex.
America,
Every culture wants
yeah,
to have sex,
of
right? You know,
course.
you're saying that's a pleasure. So
And I think we want to have sex more now because of the pressures that society puts on us. So we want to feel good. We want to feel great. Sex makes us feel that way, and it doesn't give us that negative allure to society that we're addicts, like we're like drug addicts or anything like that, right? We talk about the philosophy of sexual addiction, but we don't overall look at sexual addiction as the same person who's addicted to like crack or
mhm.
or speed or anything like that we see on the street shooting up. We won't make those comparisons, though we may, know it instinctually and mentally in our heads. But I think to get to your question, I don't think we emphasize family because of the pressure of how much family costs in America. Like
Mm.
it's a lot of money to have a family. Hell, how much? I'm curious if you're willing to share this detail. How much did it cost for you to buy your house?
$600,000. Yeah, yeah, 600K.
And you are where?
I am in Jersey City, across the bridge from New York.
You're not even in a highly metropolis area. Yes, it's highly dense because Jersey City has a lot of New York travelers, but that is crazy to me. 600K.
Yeah, I know, I know.
And you have places like in California where it's almost $1 million for a house. So, what does that tell you about society without saying the words? What does that tell you about society when it comes to family?
As far as the financial side
Family,
of things,
family is comes at a high price.
yeah, it comes at a high price. Yeah,
Because I'm not buying a house unless I have a family. Why buy? Why if I'm a single male? Why would I need to buy a house? I mean, I could buy a house. I mean, that's something that you would
yeah.
aspire to have. But if I want to have a family, I need some security. I need a home base. So I would probably be more prone to buy a house if I settle down with a partner and want to raise children. You get what I'm saying here?
No, no, for sure. You're 100%, and that all plays a role. And the economics are always going to tie in to these life decisions, right?
Yeah.
These
So
economics.
society is making it expensive to have a family. So why are conservatives being so, and is this only a conservative argument? We'll get to
Mhm.
that. Why are conservatives making it so hard for people to make the choice to abort if it's so expensive, especially in New York and California? Why are you and is places like Texas doing an overreach? And
Mm,
you brought up a
good
really
question.
good point. Texas is not making the law for Louisiana. Texas is not making the law for Arizona.
Exactly.
The argument here is Texas is making a law for Texas.
Correct.
Mississippi is making a law for Mississippi. And why is our president, Mr. Joe Biden, have something to say about that? Is it because it's a morality issue that we're not giving people their freedom to make the decision for themselves?
Hmm.
And what kind of morality are we talking about? Are we talking about the life and death of a child, or is it just simply an organism that you're just doing away with in the womb? And that's where I feel that the decision that they've been arguing about is because of that. Is this a life? When does it start? When does it happen? And obviously, this is called the heartbeat bill.
So let me talk about fertility rates.
Ooh,
All
we
right.
have a comment. Okay, yeah, go ahead. I'll
I'm
read
gonna
this
talk
comment while
about.
you're
Yeah, go ahead.
talk about fertility rates, and I'll read this comment here.
Okay. So fertility rate. Let me tell you something about fertility rate. The United to have a growing population, the fertility rate needs to be at a little over 2, right? The fertility rate was very high early in the if I remember correctly, we'll have to look this up. 60s, 70s, fertility rate was higher, slowly decreasing, right? China took the you remember that rule China had where you can only have one kid,
Yeah,
right? That rule is
I
gone.
thought it was still in effect. Oh yeah,
Oh,
okay, it's gone.
you wonder why that rule is gone. I'm gonna tell you why right now. Because they see their population. If they want to compete at the world level, they want their population to continue to grow and rise and and be. Even though their populations are is big already, but they're looking into other countries like um, India, right? And you're looking at these other countries who have a fertility rate of higher than 2. If you have a fertility rate higher than 2, that means your population is growing. Our fertility rate in America has constantly been going down, down, and down, which means our
Mm,
population is not growing. And I believe we have a lot of people, right? And I'm not going to go off with this conversation, but I believe a lot of people in power, with power, don't want the population to grow, right? They talk about things of too many people on earth, which is total BS. All right, and that connects to abortion because the way you push abortion is you sell lies. There's more unoccupied land in the United States and around the world for billions and billions and billions of more people.
mm,
So fertility rate, I just want somebody people to think about the importance of fertility rate, and the lower we get, it's actually not good for our society because we are building less people and leaders and all that.
Yeah, and I just wanted to before we dive into what you said there, there's a comment here in the comment section that I really wanted to get to
Oh, I
here.
see. I like this. Okay.
What do we do with the welfare system slash child support system if we eliminate abortions slash even further, she says, restrict it in 2018? The majority of women, 85%, getting abortions were unmarried women. Wow.
So let me understand it. What do we do with the welfare system, child support system, if we eliminate abortions restricted? In 2018, 85.
Let's just stop there. Let's what do we do with the welfare system? If we so let's use that if we eliminate abortions with all those questions, right? So what do we do with the welfare system if we eliminate abortions? What do we do with child support system if we eliminate abortions? And what do we do? You know what I'm saying? So let's answer it as that, right? Um,
Um,
what
yeah,
do we do with the welfare system if we eliminate abortions? Initial thoughts.
um, I don't think we need to. I'm trying to see the connection between it,
Hmm.
right? Because, um, yeah, so most abortions, the highest rate of abortion is in the black community, and is in socially disadvantaged economic situations, right? That is facts for sure.
So
But
this is affecting poor people
yeah,
primarily.
exactly.
Yeah.
But we look at that as a victory. Like, I hear a lot of people say that as, oh, if it wasn't for this, for Planned Parenthood or these clinics, then we would have had more babies. Like, that's a bad thing. You know what I'm saying? But I guess they're saying because they'll grow up in a bad situation, right? But that's a whole different discussion because I believe the welfare system has its own major problems. But um yeah, I don't know if it's connected, right? Because, for example, if we make abortion harder, I don't feel
Yeah.
it affect welfare or child support, but
Hmm.
it is connected in the community that she's talking about. So that is correct. So that's interesting, right? Because
Right.
mostly unmarried women. But I wanted to go to the end of that really quick because my
Yeah.
thought when as I finished reading that
Yeah.
was
Yeah.
we
Yeah.
need to, like I said a little earlier, we need to emphasize the importance and we need to celebrate family, right? We need to really like encourage that, right? And have incentives, not for how about if the government comes out with incentives not for single mothers when the dad is not home like the welfare system, but incentives for married couples. Why you don't
Ooh.
incentivize that, right? That would be a revolutionary idea. Why? Because it helps. But the way it helps, it helps communities, but it doesn't help the government because we
So
don't
if you
have.
have a low income family, male and female, or partners, now in today's era, if you have partners together who are in the low income bracket, why don't they get more incentives than a
Exactly. If
single
you really
person
wanna help them
to
move out, keep them
incentivize? So
together,
yeah,
half of them work together because the tax system does benefit those who are married in different ways, right? It just depends how you
but
look at
what
it.
about abusive
Oh,
situations?
yeah, but,
So you have
that.
to make those distinctions, right?
Yeah, for sure. That's domestic violence we have there. Like, my
Yeah.
wife works through the domestic violence agency and all that, but yeah, but that's separate. All I'm saying is I how the way the comment ended, I agree with that. It's very interesting. 85% are unmarried women. I didn't know that.
Yeah,
But
that's crazy.
that
So
emphasizes
that
the
means
first
our
point I
welfare
made.
system is supporting 85% unmarried women,
Yes,
right?
exactly.
Supporting them in their abortions, supporting them in their welfare system, supporting them in their child support endeavors, right? Why are we having these issues? Is because we have a breakdown of the family,
The
right?
man has
That's what you're
zero
getting at.
shot. The
Yeah.
man has zero shot to re-enter or rebuild with a family when the welfare system is giving her food, benefits, shelter, and everything that a man, or let's not only talk about the man giving for
Oh, I
those
see what
seeking
you're
hope.
saying here.
There's
You're
no
saying that the man and woman have no shot in
no. We're
they
so
have no
deep
shot
in
in
racism.
reconciliation, right? So breakups happen, shit happens, and they have no shot at rebuilding the family or fixing the family because of the welfare system.
Yeah, we don't need each other. You know what I'm saying? The man goes out, the woman supported by the government, the man goes out and works, and now, he tries to work out a side plan
Wow.
because the court is taking too much money in child support. It's a mechanism when I think of welfare and child support to
Wow.
keep the family. separated. That's my biggest problem. And I love that we went from abortion, and I love that comment because it took us from abortion to welfare and child support. Very related, guys. 85% are of women getting abortions are unmarried, right? And then you look at the vast majority of people getting these benefits and welfare and child support are in low income community, Black, Hispanics, and really just living off the system. I know that's a controversial thing for some people to say, but they're living off the system because the
Yeah.
man is not needed.
So back to the actual thing. Let's just talk about the thing. Let's rip it apart. If we're for abortions, are we willing to live with those numbers? 61 million plus in the
I don't
last
know if I'm
45
for
years.
abortion.
No, I just want to just kind of pose that out there. I want
Yeah.
the audience to hear this. Like, are we willing to live with those numbers if we're for abortions? Is that just a necessary evil or a necessary outcome of giving people that freedom, right? You can't control that freedom, so it's just going to happen. Of course, 45 years, 61 million plus, it's just a byproduct, right? And for conservatives, are they overreacting? Because if we're saying my body, my choice, how are we not going to understand? When I saw a clip, I saw a snippet just yesterday of Billie Eilish performing somewhere. I forgot where. She just performed somewhere and she made that statement, my body, my choice, in reference to the abortion decision. And that the Supreme Court actually, somebody fought against Texas and it went up to the Supreme Court level. And the Supreme Court actually upheld this law, citing that this is their constitutional right to actually perform this, to actually execute this law, and it's because it's state specific. So I don't know if it has anything to do overall with our country, but it has primarily to do with our singular state liberties. But my whole thought process is: are conservatives overreacting when you say that statement, "My body, my choice"? Are they overreacting? They see those numbers and how alarming they are to them. And is this only a conservative liberal problem? Are actually liberals pro life? Are there liberals out there that are actually pro life? And are there conservatives who are actually pro choice? Does it
It,
have to be a Republican Democrat ideology?
it doesn't, but unfortunately it is. And the second layer to that is that my body, my choice argument, there's too many unanswered questions before you can get there, right? You don't want to talk about when life starts. You don't want to talk about if a heartbeat is a life. You don't want to talk about if you're pro choice up to what part, right? These are all questions before you say my body, my choice. How about we have an honest conversation on these realities, right? So for example, um if you believe, when do you believe is a life in there, right? Because if
Yeah.
you are pro-choice and you tell me 4 months is too far, right? Or let's say you say 5 months, too much, right? And I'll say, okay, cool, we're going somewhere. I'm just curious about the person's thought process. I would ask, so that means after 5 months you no longer believe my body, my choice, right? Because you believe it's a body in there, right? So it's not your body no more, right?
The
But
decision
before
has
that,
to be made. A decision. We have to come to an agreement on when we have a limit on the abortion, right?
yeah, and
If we're
most
going to go
abortions,
down this road, we have to make a set agreement that this is the time we have allotted to us to make that decision to abort, right? So
yeah, and
whether we decide the discussion of life, when it begins, when it doesn't, we can talk about that till the end of our of existence. But they had to come to a decision when there's a limitation to this abortion, right?
yeah, it's those
Yeah,
questions that you chant my body, my choice, but hold up, I don't know where you stand because you don't tell me abortion up to when. The pro-life doesn't tell me about the incidents of rape. Do you think they should keep it? It's a complex conversation. I believe, as I consider myself more of a libertarian worldview, where
yeah,
that libertarian worldview leads me to say, man, look, I do think abortion is wrong,
yeah,
right? But at the same time, I do know the um, ineffectiveness of the government. I know how unaffected the government, not unaffected. I know how ineffective, right? I know how ineffective the government is in implementing these kind of laws and how good they are in these kind of like, when it comes to law, I'm like, would it change? I like to look at the bottom line, right?
Right.
Does it change? Is my question. Do anything? So that's why I tend to battle with this because I don't believe abortions should be fully legal. Like anybody could just make an abortion whenever they want because that would
Right.
that I agree with a 9 month abortion. I don't. But I also don't think that abortion should be fully illegal. Why? Because that's just going to create black markets and that's just going to create other areas where people are going to flee to get those abortions in a very, very unsafe way. So I
So
don't
you
know.
think that's why Texas did not want to completely make it illegal?
Yes,
They
because
just want to make it hard.
yeah, you have to justify. I like the justification in a way, right? Because they give you something to argue against. They're not just saying, "Oh, we're pro-life. You can't have a." They're saying, "Look, we're pro-life. We've thought about this. At 6 weeks, science is showing us that we hear a heartbeat. We're going to call this the heartbeat bill, and you cannot perform an abortion after that." All right. If you disagree with that, now let's argue about life. Let's take, you know what I'm saying? These are the art. You don't want to go to the
Okay.
next level with me. Let's go to the,
Okay.
don't just say, no, Texas is this. All right. Let's take a step back and let's,
And my other thought process is, how far does my body, my choice go? Right? Does it go beyond abortions or having children? Because right now, I think that's really important to the vaccine. You know, my
yeah,
body, my choice. Right? And I don't know if it makes sense to connect the two, or we can keep it apart from each other. And I just wanted to throw
no,
that
I think
out
it's
there,
a good
just as a
connection.
flash thought. You know what I mean?
No,
We
I think it's a great connection, right? And, but again, my body, my choice when it comes to abortion is not as straightforward as people want to think it is,
Is
right? Because
disingenuous, is what
yeah,
you're
it's
saying. Yeah.
disingenuous to just chant "my body, my choice" when a lot of people chanting know damn well that they have a limit in when an abortion should be done. So after 7 months is not your body, but some science also says that 6 months it has its known DNA and all that, so it's not your body. You know what I'm saying? So it's like it's contradicting. But with the vaccine, it's a little more straightforward. It is my body.
Yeah.
There's nothing else inside of me. I'm putting that into my body. So my body, my choice, I think even has more relevance to the vaccine.
Yeah. I mean, I definitely believe that we should have the freedom to decide, and I do believe that those numbers should be broadcast. 61 million babies are being aborted for whatever the reason may be, folks.
Yeah.
It still should be there. We still should be conscious of it. We still should be aware of it, and possibly should be a little bit more careful when we have sex. And I'm talking to myself. I'm not talking to just everyone out there. We should be a little bit more conscious and understanding that having sex gives us this outcome. I
So,
know it's not an automatic, but it's damn well something that we're contending with every day. Every time we have sex, that should be on the back of our head that babies come out of this. You know what I'm saying? So we don't put ourselves in a situation of my body, my choice. But when I hear my body, my choice, I already hear screw conservatives or screw Republicans because who cares? You shouldn't restrict this. You shouldn't restrict these freedoms. And I love the fact, I'll
but
say
remember,
this. Yeah, go ahead.
we just really quick. Remember on that argument, there's always a line when it comes to your freedom, right? I can't go. I have the right to carry a firearm, but I don't have the right to kill someone else with it. You have the right to do what you want with your body. You have sex. You have the right to do that. But now the effects of sex is another body in there, right? So now is like, all right, let's talk about this.
Excellent
You
point.
don't have that full
Wow.
right. You say you, so it's like it's a give and take with these laws because they try to, both sides paints it very plain. But I feel like the my body, my choice, my point in all this is a flawed chant and a flawed argument when it comes to abortion because you're
It's
not
limited.
you're it's limited.
Yeah.
You're not answering many questions. You're not admitting that it's a life in there. So
And look, yeah, and you brought up a excellent point. And I hope folks out there are hearing this. Just because you have the right to carry the gun does not mean you have the right to kill people with it. Right? There are varying degrees of how you're able to use that weapon, right? To for self-defense, or if you feel like your life's in danger or somebody else's life is in danger. It all depends on the local law. But I'm not look, I'm not for abortions, and I'm not to say, and personally, just to personalize this, I've been through this before. I've been through circumstances where I was young. I was like 16, 17 years old, and I had to go through my first abortion because it was told to me that your life is over the minute you have a child. Your life is over. How is your life over? I really want to explore this. How is my life over? Right? I never did because the social pressures were, if you're going to have this child, how much is it to raise a child? The approximate price that they're giving out, and according to Forbes, is it approximately $30,000 a year to take care of a child. Why does it have to be that expensive when it's we have the natural resources to take care of our children? Moms have breast milk. That's another discussion right there. Women not producing breast milk. So you can't even feed your child naturally. So you have to rely on outside resources, and those resources are expensive. Why is society so expensive to raise our children? Why is society putting these high expenses? Because it's de-incentivizing us from having families. Now, to contradict that point, so people know I'm not delusional. I do not think 17-year-olds should have children in today's society. We do not live in an early civilization world where it calls for more and more and more human to be produced. We don't need that today. But we do not need to restrict it. If we're willing to live with those numbers, right now is not a net loss, right? We're still gaining in the population. It's not a net loss. But what happens when it's a net loss? Is it still my body, my choice? Those are my points. Is it still my body, my choice? Because I've been through this before. And again, I also been through this in another situation where I just met someone, but we had a conscious discussion over it. Like, oh, you taking care of yourself? I'm taking care of my. Okay, cool. And then she ended up pregnant, and I'm like, I just met you. I can't. I don't know who
Yeah.
you are to have this children. And it's not like I was unconscious or we were in a drunken stupor to create this child. So there are many circumstances where it may have helped me in that person, or it may have helped me in my first partner in making the decision to have an abortion. So again, I'm not for it, but I'm not against it. And the
So
reason, yeah, go ahead.
I want it your example, for example. Let me share on my end, right?
This is my sister here. She said condoms work.
In fact, responsibility is
uh,
key. All right. So
and
let me
there's
put that
another
up there. I
point
don't think it
here.
went to
There's
the
another
comment,
point.
but responsibility is key. I agree. Just want to show that since I know it went to the other
Mm,
channel. But responsibility is key, right? So, for example, I had one instance like that in high school. All right. My girlfriend in high school. Um, and I played it real calm and manipulative, right? And I manipulated in a way where it's like, yeah, you could, yeah, you could have, and I kind of convinced her that, look, I would love to have a baby with you. I did some reverse psychology at an early age. I was real calm, and I was like, look, I would love to have a baby with you, but at the same time, it's like, can we really do it? I think we should plan this. It was a real mature response at the age I was. My sisters, like, people would tell me, like, that's crazy, but I really kept it cool. But inside, I was scared. I didn't want to have a kid with this woman. I don't know if I was going to be with her, but I know I really did love her at the time. In my mind, I'm like, yo, but still, I had the point is, she got the abortion. Um, and to this day, I think back at that because my views have changed. I'm like, wow, I think to myself, that is crazy. She was able to have it that easy. I think 2-3 days later, everything changed. Boom. I don't talk about it. It is what it is. And then we broke up a few months later, right? So it's like, wow. And I think to my mind, I'm like, yeah, I just didn't take responsibility, right?
mm,
So, and I have a question here. I want to take it to macro, right? As we're ending, I do want to ask this question here, right? This is my question here. Should abortion, if you were to pick one of these worlds where abortion is completely legal or illegal, what world would you rather live in? Where is completely legal, anybody can get an abortion anytime they want, or illegal that you cannot get abortion, right? And I'm doing this on purpose, no nuance, to make this question a bit more provocative, right? But if you had to choose one, right? And I want to end with this because we personalize, I want to take it macro. What kind of world would you want to live in? And then, second question, not only would you want to live in, what's better for society? What kind of world is better for society? So
mm.
those are difficult questions for us to answer and ponder on. I don't know if you want to give it a jab at some of what you think. I'd love to hear some of what you think, and if people have some thoughts on this, I'd love to hear it.
Yeah, I guess my initial thought process in that, and I first off, before I respond, so I understand correctly, remind me what the question was, just to
Should
understand it.
abortion be completely legal or
Do we want to
illegal?
live in a either or
Yeah,
world?
what kind of society, world, culture would you want to live in if you had to pick one? No gray area in this one. That's what makes this. I know life is a bunch of gray areas, but I chose to do it like this to make it interesting.
I honestly would love to see what the world looks like if abortions was illegal. And
Hmm.
and the reason why I say that is because I think if it was illegal, we would look at sex differently. We would look at family differently, and our whole government would operate differently, knowing that that could happen, and because of that, would a lot of would a lot of some of the issues that we're dealing with today would kind of like not happen anymore or not happen at all, right?
Hmm.
So that's kind of the thing, that thought process. I would love to explore the idea of a world where abortions don't exist, because again, we talked over the just to recap of what we talked about today. We talked about the Texas abortion ban, how that affected celebrities such as Billie Eilish. She actually, I saw in the chat there, she was actually performing in Texas when she said "My body, my choice." So she was making a statement. We heard the mind of Greg Abbott and the reason behind why the 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 abortion bill was even produced and passed.
Hmm.
They what their beliefs were. And then we also explored the actual alarming numbers of how many abortions took place in our country from 73 to 2018. So, and who this probably predominantly affects the lower class of Americans. And at the lower part of the Americans, we see minorities exist there. And we also saw that abortions are affecting unmarried women. So we explored all those things in this show in a tight 57-minute window.
Yeah.
And we did that. We're probably going to re-explore this again in a more general sense. And I think we want to do a family series at some point. Talk about marriage, talk about raising your kids under a family and all that whatnot.
Hmm.
And right now we're pulling up a clip here to kind of bring us to the end here of, I guess, where we're going with this and the thought process of this, and what Lou's question was: do we want to live in a world where abortions are illegal, or do we want to live in a world where it is legal, illegal or illegal, one or the other, no middle ground here, guys?
Yeah. No middle
What is
ground.
your choice?
What
What
would
is
you
your
choose?
beliefs? Okay,
Yeah. So,
shoot.
so I've read here the comments. There's also a plan B before abortion. Before abortion, isn't plan B abortion?
It is,
Yeah. Plan B is abortion, right? That's
yeah.
just abortion should
or
be legal
or I
in
think
places.
where she's getting at is plan B denies the fertilization of the egg. I think that's what plan B is.
Mm.
Or I think it is abortion. That's something we have to look into. Someone also said should be legal. Abortion should be legal.
No boundaries on abortion. So when you say legal, just FYI, what I'm saying is you're okay with a 9 month pregnant woman saying, "I don't want the baby." No limitations on legality, right? So this is why both are kind of like I'm setting up a trap for everybody. I know it's not an easy question. I appreciate all your
It's a
answers.
decision. It's a decision we
Yeah,
have to make.
yeah,
Period. Society in America had to make this decision because this was becoming an issue. And when was it becoming an issue? Probably during the sexual revolution. My guess.
yeah, yeah. So we're hitting up on the hour mark, man. Before we close out, I wanted to do two things. I wanted to play a quick snippet of a 1 minute video, and then talk also explain the situation, well, briefly, of like, look, this is a complex topic and there's layers to this, right? So we'll
And we
probably
can't
be
solve this
speaking
in an
about this
hour.
every so often. We'll probably be speaking about this to spark curiosity and kind of learn more about the topic, right?
Oh, look at this. I have to post this one up. There can never be legal or not legal. That is an excellent thought. I didn't think of that. Like she's saying there's never could be a world where it's legal or not legal. It just what? It just happens. It's just is. I'm curious.
Well,
But
the
yeah, let's
thing
play
is,
that clip.
I would
Yeah,
say
go
this
ahead.
last thing. Nothing changes with a law. But if culture changes, that's how you really change abortion, right? So if you emphasize a culture of
Ooh,
sexualization and all that, then you don't need a
ooh.
law, right? Like in Japan, all right? Japan, you see no garbage in the streets, but there's no law that you can't throw garbage in the streets. Why?
Wait, say that
Because
again. Say that again. That point,
the
please.
culture changes and then politics follow. Like the a law doesn't have as much impact as a culture changing, right? A law is just, hey, do this. But culture is like, the example I like to give to people is Japan, right? Think about Japan. I went to Japan and I saw no garbage in the streets, and it's a city. Shibuya is vibing more people. It has more people than even Times Square. Crazy,
Wow.
amazing how screen. And you think to yourself, how? There's no law that you can't throw garbage here. It's because it's a cultural norm to take care of the streets, don't drink while you walk, and do all this. It's a cultural norm, right? Anyways, let's end with this quick video about abortion is not a human right. Spark some controversy and some thoughts, right? All right, here we go.
Abortion advocates never miss an opportunity to diminish the humanity of the unborn, not even on Human Rights Day. That's this week's Speak Out segment. Human Rights Day on December 10th is the anniversary of when the United Nations General Assembly adopted the Universal Declaration of Human Rights. Planned Parenthood took to Twitter to mark the occasion by dehumanizing the unborn. Repro rights are human rights, the group wrote several times in a tweet. Of course, for Planned Parenthood, the nation's largest abortion provider, repro rights is a euphemism for abortion. Abortion lobbyists NARAL joined in, tweeting out, abortion access is a human right.
Mm.
Encyclopedia Britannica says human rights are rights that belong to an individual or group of individuals simply for being human. The unborn are simply human. From the moment of fertilization, an unborn child has a unique set of DNA that differs from both of their parents, that differs from any other human being that has lived or will live. The unborn are members of the human race. They are our youngest, our littlest, and deserving of our protection. The cause for human rights is a cause worth fighting for, but we cannot exclude our most vulnerable brothers and sisters. History will frown upon efforts to exclude members of the human race from their inherent human rights. Planned Parenthood and NARAL cannot wave the banner of humans' rights in one hand while killing humans with the other. We hope
Mm.
and pray those who falsely push abortion as a human right will one day come to be promoters of peace and justice for humans in the womb.
Wow. Well, I mean, we'll leave it there. And
Yeah, whether
pretty.
you agree or disagree, I think that's a powerful message. Thank you, everybody, for joining. I'll let my man Macho close us out, but it's been a pleasure talking about these hard topics because I'm even challenged thinking about what's next after this. But I know we have a list of things that we can continue to talk about, man. But yeah, let them know a little about us, where they can find us, Macho.
Yeah, be sure if in case you might have missed any of our content, you can go right ahead, go to YouTube, type in drinks with a nobody, and hit that subscribe button and click that notification bell so you never miss a thing. And if you want more content, we need subscribers. So please go right ahead and go to YouTube and find us there. But we'll be shooting live Monday through Friday at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So don't worry, we'll be back. A hump day, we're looking towards Wednesday. And just because we're ending this live today, just remember, at Drinks with a Nobody, there are no last calls. So let's stay engaged. Let's keep the conversation going. Until tomorrow, adios.